talking
This
about my
week on the
ankle
Life Well
anymore. Have you ever
podcast.
been in a situation where you continue to expose yourself to the thing that you're actually trying to heal from? From a psychological standpoint, that's what happens when behaviors that are supposed to support you become the kind of thing that controls you or controls your identity or your worth. Welcome back to the Life Well podcast. As always, I am your host, Catherine, and today's episode is very close to my heart because it has some new habits that I've been picking up. We're going to be talking about everything in between feeling good, looking good, being good, and healing really, really well. Sometimes we look like we're very successful on the outside, but inside you could be feeling bruised or numb or just trying to get through your day without breaking. And I know I'm not the only one who's probably felt that way, right? There's this subtle lie that sometimes says if you're functioning, you're fine. And if you're smiling, you're whole. And if you're getting things done, you're good. But healing, real healing, it goes way deeper than that. I didn't realize sometimes in the lives of my clients or even in my own life how much pain that we're really in until you try to rest a little bit and you can't until you're finally alone and your body starts yelling what your mouth has been very quiet about. We talked about emotional processing, and now we're going to figure out some practical ways that we can do it. So, I want to talk about what it really means to heal well, not just recover enough to return to work, but to return to wholeness. So, let's get into it. Up until this point in the season, we've talked about a lot of things. We've talked about burnout, we've talked about grief, we've talked about emotional processing, we've talked about what it means to feel and to cry and to sit with what's going on internally. But this season would be half hearted if we didn't talk about the external. You do, in fact, have a body, okay, that all of those feelings are living in, and it is our vehicle, for lack of a better word. It's like the variety of cars that we see on the road. There are varying bodies in the world. Men and women have different needs for their bodies. And within the community of womanhood specifically, our needs differ from person to person and from day to day. So, as you're doing well and weeping well, your body needs to be supported so that it can fully heal well. Healing doesn't just happen in your mind, it happens in your body too. Now, I didn't go to medical school, I went to therapy school, if you will. But one of the biggest misconceptions in medical spaces and even faith spaces is that if you pray enough, you think better and just have more discipline, you are just automatically going to feel better. But sometimes, from a biological and psychological standpoint, your mental health is not gonna be separate from your physical health. These systems are so deeply intertwined, they are so deeply integrated that we have no choice but to talk about what it means to actually heal well, not just emotionally and not just spiritually, but also physically. You have a body, and from a neuroscience perspective, your brain and your body, they're constantly communicating, they're texting, they're sending gifs. If you have a group chat, and on any given day, because we're working adults, the group chat could be dead. But you know the day when the group chat is just at its peak and everyone is it's going joke for joke, gif for gif, sticker for sticker. That's what's happening in your brain and in your body. This is often referred to as the brain body connection, or more specifically, the gut brain axis and your nervous system. Your brain does not function in isolation. It is all the way up here, but it is talking to everything else down there. Because of that, it depends on inputs from your body, your sleep, your nutrition, your movement, your exposure to light. And when any of those systems are off, your mood and your focus and your emotional regulation is going to be impacted. Okay. This is why you can be praying and journaling and doing like running well, like we talked about in the first episode, doing all the good stuff for your mental, and you could still feel off simply because your body is depleted, your body is tired. So let's start with something really basic, but really important: nutrition. Now, don't get me wrong. I love the half pound of snow crabs, half pound of headless shrimp, boom, mixed mild with a side of fries and a Minute Maid lemonade, just like the next girl. Okay, that's my specific order. But As much as it makes me dance when I open the bag because the flavor is exciting, the fuel it gives me is not sufficient. Okay. I can't study after I eat that. I can't run after I eat that. I couldn't film a podcast after I eat that because your brain requires fuel to function. Okay. Neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, neuroepinephrine, they're all influenced by the nutrients that you consume. And again, as much as it tastes good, I don't know how fueling my particular order at your local crab spot really is. For example, serotonin, which is often associated with like mood stability, it is synthesized through an amino acid that is found in protein. So if you're not eating consistently, you're not getting enough protein. Your body literally has less of the raw material it needs to support your mood just being regulated. And we know that our world, for reasons that is super apolitical, it's pretty political to talk about, but we are obsessed with protein right now. You get protein coffee at this point. But as a therapist, I do understand that the commitment to protein is important. And we have to take into consideration what our diet is going to be because a mild commitment to protein may not be sufficient. So, we want to move through our body systems and also talk about your blood sugar. When your blood sugar is unstable, when you're skipping meals, I'm guilty. I'm not just talking about you guys, we're talking together, okay? This is a conversation. When your blood sugar is unstable because you skip breakfast and lunch, and maybe even dinner because you forgot I'm just a girl, right? When you're eating inconsistently, you're more likely to experience irritability, right? There's a company, I don't want to say it because I don't want to get sued, but you're not yourself when you're hungry. They weren't lying, okay? You're irritable, you're tired, you have a difficult time really concentrating because sometimes what feels like anxiety might just be dysregulated blood sugar because you're not eating or you're not eating enough of the good things. Sometimes what feels like emotional instability is just physical depletion. Your body is tired, your body is hungry, and that doesn't mean your emotions aren't real. It just means that your body needs to be supported. And as a busy girl, like I said, who at times forgets that she didn't eat breakfast by lunchtime and then 4 p.m. hits and the sound of the buttons on my computer are just irritating, being out of gas impacts my work and it also impacts the people around me because I didn't eat. And in addition to the snacks that we eat or the moves that we make or don't make, all of that is impacting our body's ability to heal. From a physiological standpoint, movement is one of the best ways to actually regulate your nervous system. When you move your body, whether that's walking or running or stretching or dancing, you are helping your body process. We just talked about that. Is your refrigerator clean, by the way? When I said clean out your refrigerator, I meant it in a psychological way from the last episode. But I literally hope that that Arm& Hammer box of baking soda that you've had in there for 6 months, I hope that you got rid of that. Back to the episode. When you are moving your body, you are helping your body process, which is important because cortisol, like we've talked about, that primary stress hormone, movement actually reduces that. It also increases your endorphins, which supports your mood, which is going to give you a healthier sense of well being. But beyond that, movement helps complete what we just talked about, that emotional processing. So when you're feeling overwhelmed or you're feeling anxious or it's just emotions, taking me when it's getting to that point and you can't really focus because your feelings are clouding your judgment. Sometimes you just need to move your body, right? Your body is holding on to that activation and you need to move around to get it out. And talking is helpful, don't get me wrong. My whole career is built on conversations, but movement is often what allows that activation to actually release. So sometimes healing looks like a conversation, and sometimes it looks like taking a walk. And other times it looks like having a conversation while you take a walk. And if you want to do two or four or a biggie wellness deal, you can take all of these different wellness ideas and smush them all together and create something that looks like a wellness based day because your body operates on what we call a circadian rhythm. It's an internal clock that regulates your sleep and your energy and your hormone production. Sunlight plays a critical role in regulating that rhythm, exposure to natural light, especially in the morning. This is why our mothers and our grandmothers, they got out of that bed and they opened up those curtains, okay? They opened up those blinds because that actually helps regulate your serotonin, which is going to support your mood, and your melatonin, which supports your sleep. So when your sleep quality and your emotional regulation is feeling a little off, maybe we need to go outside. Your body was designed to respond to light. Okay, that's scripture and science. And when that system is off, everything else can kind of feel like it's a little bit off too. So we want to make sure that when we talk about healing well, the reality is that not all bodies start from the same baseline. When we look to the research, women, especially women of color, Black women are disproportionately impacted by certain nutrient deficiencies. One of the most studied is a vitamin D deficiency. According to CDC data, about 31% of non Hispanic Black Americans are vitamin D deficient, compared to about 3% of white Americans. And in some studies, Black women are 2 to 3 times more likely to be deficient than white women. In fact, some research estimates that these rates could be as high as 70 to 80% in certain populations of African American women. So this isn't just a small difference. This is a significant disparity. What the research is telling us is that we need to take into account our overall well being, because not having these nutrients can impact our immune system. When your body is under chronic stress and it stays in that state of heightened activation and it already doesn't have the baseline nutrients that it needs, we are focused on survival, not rebuilding, not restoration. So functions like digestion, it gets shut down. Okay, if your stomach hurts very often, talk to your doctor, but also talk to your therapist. Okay, your immune response is going to be impacted. Repair is now deprioritized. If healing cannot be supported because we're living with nutrient deficiencies, this is again why chronic stress is linked to increased inflammation, weakened immunity, and a range of physical and mental health concerns, because your body is not getting the signal that it's safe to rest. And healing requires safety. And your body has to feel safe enough to shift out of survival mode into a state of restoration. Thankfully, there are supportive tools. We are not alone, okay? There's vitamins and supplementation, things like vitamin D and magnesium, and even omega 3s. These all play a role in your brain function and in your overall health. But I want to say this carefully, because this is not about self diagnosing, okay? This is also not about over supplementing. It's about recognizing that your body may need support, so you should talk to your doctor. It's about being intentional about how you care for your body, so you should talk to your doctor. We are in the year 2026. If you have not talked to your doctor yet, we are in quarter 2 now. By the time you're listening to this, it could be Q3. It could not even be 2026. Have you talked to your doctor in the last 90 days? If not, when you're done watching this episode, now don't stop watching the episode. Well, you can stop watching the episode to call your doctor. But at some point, we should be talking to our doctor so that you know the state of your body. Okay. That's the first step. We need our annual exam. It shouldn't be less than a year ago. Okay. Have we paused and thought about it? Do you remember the last time you saw your PCP? If it's been a while, I want you to book that appointment. Okay. Filled out that clipboard. Got that blood work done. When was the last time? And for my ladies, when was the last time you laid back on that table? Because you should be going. Yeah, if you're still thinking and you don't have a date in mind, it's time to get on that patient portal and start making some appointments. It's time for us to go to the doctor because, as you know, this isn't just science. This is biblical. In First Corinthians, it says your body is a temple. And I think sometimes we hear that and we interpret it as a statement about behavior or morality, and it is, but it's also a statement about stewardship. Your body matters, and how you care for your body also matters. One of my favorite examples of this is Elijah in First Kings chapter 19. He's burned out. Okay, this whole season could have very much been about Elijah. He is burnt out. He is overwhelmed. He is afraid, and he literally asks the Lord to just take his life. And what's interesting is how God responds. God does not immediately correct his thinking. He doesn't give him a sermon. He doesn't tell him he should just have more faith. He lets him rest. And then he feeds him and he allows his body to recover. This is important in for your reading pleasure. If you go back and read chapter 17 and go back and read chapter 18, some of the slack or the thought rather that we give to Elijah, like, oh my God, I can't believe he just fell down on the side of a desert and asked God to take his life. Read chapter 17. Read chapter 18. And it talks about the kind of exhaustion or the experiences that led to exhaustion that required him to need a snack and a nap. And before he got any other instruction, he needed restoration. A lot of us want to move forward. We want to know, God, what is the next call on my life? What is the next thing that you are going to do for me? We've got dreams, we've got hopes. And sometimes we even experience anxiety and depression because those things have not happened yet. But look at the order. God is a God of order. If you are depleted and your body is functioning under a state of deficiency, what God did for Elijah was restore him and then give him the instructions. So if clarity and instruction and movement isn't happening in your life, maybe we want to consider what restoration looks like first. Have you been taking care of your body? I think that this is a powerful reminder that sometimes what we need is not more pressure, okay? It's more care. So when we talk about healing well, we're talking about a process, okay? It's not just what you think, it's not just about what you feel, it's actually about how you live. So let's dig just a little bit deeper, as we typically do here at the Life Well podcast. All that science and scripture sounds great, but I want to say this because I think it would be irresponsible not to. When we talk about healing well, eating well, moving your body, all of this can sound really good on the surface. But for a lot of people, and in my career, especially women, women who have struggled with body image or control or self esteem and self criticism, those same things can become unhealthy really quickly because the goal is going to shift. Instead of eating to nourish your body, you start eating to control your body to maybe look a certain way or feel a certain way. And instead of moving to regulate your nervous system, maybe you started off like that, right? You started taking your runs because it was good for your mind. And now we're running to achieve like body goals that you see on Instagram or something like that. You're starting to move to punish your body. And instead of caring for yourself, you start trying to manage how people are perceiving you, how you look in your clothing, what you think people think about how you look in your clothing. And I have experienced that personally. There was a time where running was something that I genuinely loved. And then it became very toxic for me. I started off running truly when I started this podcast, and it made me feel strong and it made me feel capable. And it was a very accessible way for me to regulate my emotions and take care of my body at the same time. But it got to a point where I wasn't running anymore because it made me feel free. I was running because I was fixated on the scale. I knew how many miles based on what I ate kept me from fitting into the outfit that I wanted to wear or kept the outfit from looking a particular way. And I had received compliments at during that time, like, oh my God, you've lost weight. Oh my God, your waist is so snatched, or having a revenge body and all of these different types of things. And I developed this kind of attachment to my emotional process and regulation that eventually became something that I needed to heal from. I remember being injured and I was still running. Sustained an injury while running and I kept running on it and I was still pushing. And what that did was alarm. I was ignoring what my body was telling me because the number on the scale or the number in the back of the tag of my shirt mattered more than me healing. And because I had this fixation on what food or exercise was doing to my character or how I was being perceived in any particular time, I continued to run on a ankle injury even when it wasn't healthy for my body. And the reality is, I couldn't heal well in my ankle because I wasn't healing well. Like I wasn't using a healthy process like we talked about in the other segment to approach the area in my life that experienced the disruption with something that could actually help it. I kept doing the thing that actually hurt it. And you have probably realized halfway through me talking about this, I'm not talking about my ankle anymore. Have you ever been in a situation where you continue to expose yourself to the thing that you're actually trying to heal from? From a psychological standpoint, that's what happens when behaviors that are supposed to support you become the kind of thing that controls you or controls your identity or your worth. Exercise can become compulsive. Eating can become restrictive or inconsistent. Your relationship with your body can become adversarial instead of supportive. It can become your enemy instead of your buddy. And what's tricky is it can still look healthy from the outside. You're still working out. You're still showing up to the gym. You're still going all of the places that you need to go. You're disciplined. You're eating clean, but internally it's driven by pressure or even fear. That's what it was for me. It was fear or dissatisfaction. That's not healing, that's striving. That's control. So when I say heal well, I don't mean eat perfectly. I don't mean work out constantly. Consistently, yes. Constantly to the point of exhaustion and pain, maybe not. I also don't mean become hyper focused on your body image. I mean developing a relationship with your body that is rooted in care rather than control. And I think that's where the deeper healing, at least for me, I hope for you, really is. Not just in what you do, but in the relationship you have with yourself while you are doing it, whether it is running or working out or writing, singing, doing your hair, getting your nails done, ensuring that you are in right relationship, like I said in season 2, with yourself to facilitate a healthy relationship with your body and with food. If you've been listening to this and something has stirred you, this is your time to kind of go inward as we work through these things. I want you to think about, like I said, if you've exposed yourself to a practice or a habit that is not adding value to your life, is there a way that you can distance yourself from that thing so that you can heal well? If anything I shared on this episode brought you discomfort as it relates to your relationship with food, your relationship with your body, or even your relationship with exercise, you are not alone. And more importantly, you don't have to navigate this on your own. Struggles with eating and body image or even compulsive exercise are not about discipline or willpower. They're often connected to deeper emotional, psychological, and even biological factors. So if you find yourself feeling out of control or overly restrictive or constantly preoccupied with food or your body, that's not something to ignore. That's something that deserves support from your primary care physician or your therapist. And support can look a lot of different ways. It can even look like talking to a registered dietitian, any kind of trusted professional, a family member, or a friend who understands how to help you rebuild a healthier relationship with your body, with food, with exercise, with yourself, and with your community. And I also want to be clear, nothing in this episode is meant, nothing in this podcast is ever meant to replace individualized medical or mental health care. This is about awareness. This is not about a diagnosis. We want to make sure that we're investing in healthy healing because healing well includes your relationship with your body. And if that relationship has been strained or controlling and you haven't been talking kind to her and taking her nice places and doing nice things, that doesn't mean that you failed. It just means that here's an opportunity to heal in a deeper way with support. And if any of this resonated with you in a hard way, please don't try to carry it by yourself. We've added some support resources to our link tree on Instagram and TikTok, and you can go there if you need more help on the kinds of things that we have talked about today. So here's your call to action this week. This homework this week is not going to be as reflective like journaling. I actually want you to get out into the field and do something in the area where your body has experienced a disruption. So if you have a physical injury as you are watching this episode, and you have some marching orders from a physical therapist or an occupational therapist or even your doctor, I I want you to make a commitment this week to do something that is healing for that specific injury. It doesn't have to be heroic. It doesn't have to be strong-armed. It just has to be something that's natural and something that is productive for your physical body. If you have not experienced the injury, but you've been having some discomfort, maybe you've been having stomach aches more than usual, or you've been having more headaches than usual. Prior to the filming of this episode, I realized that I cracked my tooth. I was so shocked when I heard about this. And then I did all of the research on how anything like this actually happens. It comes from grinding your teeth at night. Who knew? I had to talk to a healthcare professional to figure that out. So my homework would be going to get a mouth guard, ensuring that I wear it every single night and that I show up to the next appointments that are going to address the injury that I have sustained. And if you've sustained an injury in the area of your emotional wellness or your mental health or anything like that, I also commission you to do what we are doing for our physical bodies and address that in a targeted, careful, kind, and considerate way so that your body is in a space to be able to heal. We know that stress is going to impact our immune functioning. And when we can't heal from the common cold, it makes us really susceptible to not being able to heal from things like anxiety or even depression. Put yourself in a position this week to do something healing, even if it's simply taking a walk and getting some of that extra sunlight. Maybe you call someone who needs to do some healing. Maybe you send this episode to somebody who also needs to learn about their wellness. And we put ourselves in a position to not just be well, but to heal well enough to be well again. It is always my hope that this episode finds you guys well this season so far. I hope that it has found you well. And if not, my sincere desire is that you become well. And hopefully we all stay well. I'm Catherine, and this is the Life Well Podcast.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. I am proud of you because you have overcome so much, yet you have so much more to accomplish. Everything that you so desire will be yours because why you chose to heal instead of harm. Everything that you even think according to His will come to pass just because of the healing mindset that you're moving forward into. And this will be your best year yet. Just continue to trust Him regardless of what it looks like because He sees it all.